Rain tapped steadily against the windows of Clara Bennett's studio in Seattle's Capitol Hill, setting a soft rhythm behind the steady clicks of her keyboard. At 33, she had earned a name as one of the city's top wedding photographers. The irony never escaped her. She spent her days preserving other people's happiest memories while keeping her own emotions carefully protected. A knock came at the door. It was her assistant, Maya. "Clara, someone's here about the California wedding." Clara glanced up from editing images from a ceremony she'd shot the previous weekend at the Fairmont Olympic. A woman in her 40s stepped inside, polished and confident, dressed in a charcoal suit and holding a sleek leather portfolio that looked costly. "Ms. Bennett, I'm Patricia Vance, a wedding coordinator with Hart Morrison Events." Her handshake was firm and precise. "We have a special opportunity we'd like to discuss." Clara motioned to the chair across from her desk. "Please, have a seat." Maya mentioned California. Napa Valley. A vineyard wedding for very high-profile clients. The budget reflects that. Patricia slid a contract forward. There are, however, strict privacy expectations. The couple values discretion above all else. Clara skimmed the pages, her eyes pausing on the payment amount. It was more than she usually earned in several months. "This is extremely generous. What kind of restrictions are we talking about?" "No posting online, no sharing images without written approval, and no mention of their identities before the ceremony." Patricia's smile was smooth and controlled. "They're listed simply as M&A, full details will be provided 48 hours before the event." The artist in Clara felt curious. The business owner was already thinking about how this could fund an expansion. "When is the wedding?" 3 weeks from Saturday. Silverbrook Vineyard, just north of San Francisco. "We'd need you there Friday for rehearsal and preparation shots." Clara nodded slowly. "That seems fair. What style are they expecting?" "Romantic and personal, but with an editorial feel. They requested you after seeing your feature in Seattle Magazine." Patricia opened her portfolio, showing printed samples of Clara's work. "They admire how you capture real emotion." Real emotion. Clara almost smiled at the contradiction. She could spot love instantly in others while keeping her own heart sealed tight ever since Amelia. "I'll need my usual deposit," Clara said, reaching for a pen. "Already taken care of." Patricia handed her a check. "The balance will be sent once everything is delivered." "So, do we have a deal?" Clara signed, her familiar signature closing what she assumed was just another assignment. "I'm looking forward to it." After Patricia left, Maya leaned into the doorway. "That felt serious. Big event, I guess." Clara filed the contract away. "Napa Valley. Very private clients." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Could be famous. Or just cautious." Clara turned back to her computer, but her focus slipped. Something about Patricia's careful tone lingered, like there was more being held back than just names. Later that night, Clara sat in her Queen Anne apartment with a glass of wine, gazing out at the Seattle skyline. Rain blurred the city lights beyond the window. She'd moved here 5 years earlier, after everything unraveled. After Amelia. Her phone buzzed. A message from her best friend, Jordan. "Dinner tomorrow. You've been hiding again." Clara smiled faintly. Jordan had stayed close through the worst of it. Never prying. Always steady. "Can't. Big wedding coming up. Another time." Jordan replied almost instantly. "You always say that. When was your last real date?" Clara didn't respond. Dating felt distant and unfamiliar. She'd tried once or twice a couple of years back. Coffee, one stiff dinner, nothing that sparked. No one compared to what she'd shared with Amelia. The long talks. The laughter that filled a room. Clara exhaled and shook her head. 5 years later, and the memory still carried weight. This California job would help. New scenery. Good money. Something solid to focus on. She laid out her gear and began checking it piece by piece. Cameras. Lenses. Batteries. Cards. The routine steadied her thoughts. As she packed, her mind drifted to the unknown couple known only as M and A. She wondered what kind of story she was about to capture. What moments would she freeze in time that this couple would hold onto for the rest of their lives? She had no idea that in just 3 weeks, she would be standing across from the one person who could still make her hands tremble and undo every wall she had built so carefully. Rain kept tapping at the glass as Clara finished her wine, calm and unaware that her past was quietly moving toward her present in a way she never expected. Her flight from Seattle to San Francisco was easy, gray clouds giving way to bright sunlight as the plane descended over the bay. Clara spent the entire week preparing with precision. She studied Silverbrook Vineyard online, memorized the layout, and mapped out shots for every lighting scenario. The secrecy around her clients only grew when the final details arrived 2 days before departure. Sunset ceremony. Reception under the stars. About 60 guests. Still only initials. M and A. The rental car, a silver Honda Accord, handled the winding roads north of the city with ease. Clara had always loved this drive, watching the scenery shift from busy streets to open hills and endless vineyards. She'd taken this same route once before, years ago, on a weekend trip to wine country with Amelia. They had been young then, certain about everything, sure time was on their side. Clara pushed the thought away and focused on the road, the GPS, and the playlist she'd prepared. Soft indie songs mixed with calm classical pieces. Music that helped her stay centered. Silverbrook Vineyard came into view around a bend, almost unreal. A restored manor house from the 1920s stood at the center, stone walls wrapped in ivy, terraces spilling down toward rows of grapevines that stretched far into the distance. Clara parked and immediately noticed how perfectly the property caught the late daylight. A young man in neat khakis approached her with a welcoming smile. "Miss Bennett, I'm David, the venue coordinator. We're glad you're here." "Thank you. This place is stunning." Clara lifted her camera bag and overnight case from the trunk. "I'd love to walk the grounds before the rehearsal." "Absolutely. The bridal party is settling into the guest cottages, and the grooms," he paused, correcting himself. "Sorry. The couple is with Patricia going over final details. Shall we start with the ceremony area?" Clara followed him along a stone path lined with lavender. When they reached the ceremony site, she stopped short. Towering oak trees formed a natural amphitheater, opening to a sweeping view of the vineyard below. White chairs were set in close rows, and a simple wooden arch decorated with climbing roses stood at the center. "The light here at sunset will be amazing," Clara said softly, already framing images in her mind. She took a few reference photos, noting where the sun would fall. "They chose this spot because it feels secluded," David said. "Romantic. Like the rest of the world fades away." As they headed back toward the manor, Clara noticed a group of women laughing on the terrace, champagne glasses catching the sunlight. The bridal party, she assumed, their pastel dresses flowing in the breeze, faces too distant to make out. "Would you like to meet the couple now?" David asked. "They're in the wine cellar with the sommelier." Clara felt the familiar flutter of nerves. First meetings always mattered. Building trust. Understanding what people wanted. Being present without intruding. That sounds good. They descended into the cool, dim wine cellar, walls lined with barrels and soft lighting that promised beautiful but tricky shots. Voices echoed ahead. A sommelier describing flavors. 2 women responding with curiosity and laughter. One voice made Clara stop cold. It couldn't be real. It had to be her imagination, stirred by the setting and old memories she thought she'd buried. But when they stepped into view, the ground seemed to shift beneath her. Amelia stood there in a flowing cream dress, her dark hair longer now but catching the light in the same familiar way. She held a wine glass, listening intently, just as striking as Clara remembered. Beside her was another woman, tall, with short auburn hair and gentle eyes, her arm resting easily around Amelia's waist. The other bride. Clara's camera bag slipped from her shoulder and hit the stone floor with a dull sound. Amelia looked up. Their eyes met. The color drained from Amelia's face. Her hand shook, the glass trembling as if it might fall. "Clara?" Amelia said softly, almost unsure. The sommelier kept talking, unaware that everything had changed. David glanced between them, confused. Clara tried to speak, but nothing came. She took a breath and forced her professional voice to return. "I'm Clara Bennett. I'm your photographer." The auburn-haired woman looked between them, understanding slowly dawning. "Do you know each other?" Amelia set her glass down carefully. We used to. A long time ago. 4 years of shared life reduced to a few quiet words." Clara steadied herself, inhaled, and reminded herself why she was there. "I should let you finish your tasting. We can talk through the photography details later." Clara turned to go, but Amelia's voice caught her mid-step. "Clara, wait." Against every instinct, she turned back. Amelia had moved away from her fiancé, standing on her own now. "I didn't know," Amelia said, steadier than before, though Clara could hear the strain beneath it. "Patricia handled everything. I had no idea you were our photographer." "Neither did I," Clara replied, her calm slipping as that familiar pressure settled in her chest. "The contract only listed initials." "Meredith and Amelia," the auburn-haired woman said kindly, holding out her hand. "I'm Meredith Morrison. You must be the Clara Amelia has mentioned." Clara shook her hand, noticing the vintage emerald-cut ring on her finger, so perfectly suited to Amelia that it made her chest tighten. "She's spoken about you," Meredith added with a warm smile. "Only good things." And that gentleness somehow made it harder. "She said you're an incredible photographer." "I understand why she was excited when Patricia booked you." Amelia glanced at Meredith, her expression unreadable. "I truly didn't know it was Clara when Patricia mentioned the booking." The sommelier finally picked up on the tension and quietly stepped away. David looked like he wished he could vanish with him. "I should go," Clara said, lifting her camera bag onto her shoulder. "You can finish getting ready. I'll see you at the rehearsal at 5. She walked out before anyone could answer, her body moving on instinct alone. Once outside, the sunlight felt too bright. Her hands shook, and nausea rose in her throat. 5 years. 5 years of rebuilding, of learning how to stand on her own, of convincing herself she'd moved on. And now she was here, about to photograph Amelia marrying someone else. Someone kind. Someone who seemed perfect. That detail hurt the most. Clara reached her car just as the tears came. She sat there for a long while, hands tight around the steering wheel, breathing through the ache. The vineyard buzzed in the distance. Staff moving. Vendors arriving. The quiet build-up to a celebration. She reminded herself she was a professional. This was her work, her reputation, her life. Whatever history she shared with Amelia had to stay buried. Still, it felt unbearable. Her phone vibrated. A message from Jordan. "How's wine country? Getting any great shots yet?" Clara stared at the screen. How could she explain any of this? That she was about to document the wedding of the one person she'd never fully let go of. She typed back instead. "Just got here. The place is beautiful." Which wasn't a lie. She stepped out of the car and grabbed her gear. The familiar weight grounded her. This was who she was now. Clara Bennett. Photographer. Business owner. Independent. The guest cottage was cozy, stone walls wrapped in roses, overlooking the vineyard. She unpacked with care. Hung her dress. Charged batteries. Sorted lenses. The routine slowed her thoughts. A soft knock came at the door. Amelia stood outside, uncertainty written across her face in a way Clara knew too well. Hi, Amelia said quietly. Hi. Clara didn't invite her in, but she didn't shut the door either. I wanted to say I'm sorry about the shock. I truly didn't know. You don't need to explain, Clara said evenly. It's work. I'm here to do my job. Amelia flinched at the distance in her voice. I know this is uncomfortable. If you want to step away, I'll make sure you're paid. I can call Patricia. I'm not leaving, Clara said, sharper than she meant to. I signed a contract. I keep my commitments. The words hung between them, heavy. Amelia's face flushed. Clara felt a wave of regret. I'm sorry, she added quickly. That wasn't fair. No, Amelia said softly. Maybe it was. She looked down, turning the ring on her finger. About how things ended between us, don't, Clara interrupted, taking a step back. Please. That was a long time ago. We're not the same people. Are we? Amelia looked up, and for a moment Clara saw the woman she once loved. Open. Searching. Standing here with you, Amelia said quietly, it doesn't feel that far away at all. Clara felt her focus slip for a brief second. There were so many things she wanted to ask. Why Amelia had disappeared without a word. Why none of the calls had ever been returned. Whether she had ever missed what they shared. But those questions belonged to someone she no longer was. Someone who still believed promises lasted forever. You're getting married tomorrow, Clara said quietly instead. To someone who clearly cares about you. That's what matters now. Meredith is wonderful, Amelia replied. Her words were sincere, but there was something beneath them that Clara couldn't quite name. She's thoughtful and steady and patient. Everything I thought I wanted. Thought. Clara noticed the past tense but let it pass. You should get back to your plans, Clara said. I'll see you at the rehearsal. Amelia nodded, though she stayed where she was. For what it's worth, I'm really glad you're doing so well. Your work is beautiful. I've kept up with it. The words landed harder than Clara expected. You have? I look you up sometimes, Amelia admitted softly. I saw the Seattle Magazine feature. Your site too. You built something really impressive. Clara didn't know how to respond. Knowing Amelia had been quietly watching her life from afar was both comforting and painful. I should go, Amelia said after a moment. Meredith will be wondering where I went. She turned, then paused again. Thank you for staying. For being professional. I know this can't be easy. When Amelia left, Clara shut the door and leaned against it, her heart racing. She felt young again, overwhelmed by emotions she thought she'd outgrown. Her phone rang. Jordan's name lit up the screen. Hey, Clara said, grateful to hear a familiar voice. You sound off. What's going on? Clara sighed. Jordan always knew. She told her everything. The secret of booking. The vineyard. Seeing Amelia in the cellar. Jordan listened quietly, offering small sounds of disbelief and support. That's unreal, Jordan finally said. I know, Clara replied, sinking into the chair. I don't know how I'm supposed to photograph this. Watching her marry someone else feels unbearable. But you will, Jordan said gently. Because that's who you are. Because you're a professional. Yes, Clara said. And because leaving won't change the outcome. She's still getting married. Jordan hesitated. Maybe this is something you need. A way to finally close that chapter. To really see that it's over. Clara wasn't sure she wanted that. Closure meant letting go completely. Accepting that what she and Amelia had was only a part of their lives, not the ending she once imagined. I have to go, Clara said. Rehearsal starts soon. Call me tomorrow night, after it's done. I will. Clara ended the call and looked at her reflection in the small antique mirror. She looked pale and shaken, but but that could be fixed. She would put on her black dress, her calm expression, her cameras. She would become the version of herself the world expected. Clara Bennett, photographer. Not the woman with an aching heart. She only had to get through one more evening. Tomorrow, she would document the wedding of the woman she had never fully stopped loving. The rehearsal light at Silverbrook was just as stunning as she'd imagined. Warm and golden, filtering through oak branches and stretching long shadows across the ceremony space. Clara arrived early, testing angles and checking her light meter. The familiar motion steadied her breathing. Guests began to arrive, relaxed but polished, clearly comfortable in settings like this. Clara recognized the type instantly. Accomplished, confident, well-connected. Amelia had always moved easily in that world, though she'd never made Clara feel out of place when they were together. Clara. Patricia Vance appeared beside her, composed as ever. How are you settling in? Is the cottage comfortable? Perfect, thank you, Clara said, adjusting the strap of her camera. I've walked the ceremony area already. The light should be beautiful tomorrow. That's great to hear, Patricia replied. One small note. The couple would prefer minimal photography during the rehearsal. Just a few candid moments. Nothing posed. Clara nodded, though she couldn't help wondering if that request had come from Amelia. Of course. I'll keep it low-key. The wedding party began to gather near the arch. Clara spotted Meredith right away. She wore a flowing sage dress, her auburn hair glowing in the late light as she laughed with her bridesmaids. She carried herself with an easy confidence, the kind that put everyone at ease. Amelia arrived shortly after, and Clara had to steady her breath. She wasn't in her wedding dress yet, but the simple white outfit she wore hinted at what was coming. Her dark hair was pulled into a loose bun, and she moved with the same familiar grace. Still, Clara noticed a tightness in her shoulders that hadn't been there before. The officiant, a warm woman with calm energy, began arranging everyone. Clara stayed back, using her longer lens to capture quiet moments. Meredith's mother fixing a strand of hair. The best man murmuring his lines to himself. Flower girls laughing as petals slipped from their hands. Amelia, you'll come in from the left, the officiant said. Take your time. This is your moment. Clara watched through the viewfinder as Amelia practiced her walk. Even now, she looked luminous. But Clara caught what others didn't. Amelia's eyes kept drifting. Her smile felt practiced. When she reached the arch, Meredith took her hands. Beautiful, Meredith said softly. Clara pressed the shutter. Two women on the edge of a new life, surrounded by love. It should have felt complete. Yet Clara noticed the small things. The way Amelia stiffened slightly when Meredith kissed her cheek. The way her gaze found Clara across the space and lingered just a second too long. Let's go over the vows structure, the officiant said. Save the real words for tomorrow. Clara lowered her camera, suddenly feeling like she was witnessing something too private. She pretended to check her settings, trying not to listen as Meredith spoke about commitment and choosing each other. When Amelia spoke, her voice was quieter. Clara strained despite herself. I promise to choose you, Amelia said. Every day. Especially when it's hard. The words hit Clara sharply. Choose you. She remembered hearing those same words years ago in a small apartment near the university. Amelia tracing slow patterns on her shoulder, talking about love as a decision, not just a feeling. I choose you, she'd said then. Every day. Until that choice disappeared. Clara forced her focus back to logistics. Tomorrow would begin at 6. The light would be perfect. Left side for the walk down the aisle. Right side for vows. Back for the exit. She knew this rhythm by heart. The rehearsal ended as the sky softened into pink and gold. Everyone headed toward the main house, buzzing with excitement. Clara packed her gear when footsteps approached. Clara. She turned to see Meredith holding 2 glasses of wine. Thought you might want one, Meredith said. It's been a long day. Clara accepted it, unsure what to expect. Thank you. Everything went well. It did, Meredith agreed, studying her with thoughtful eyes. Can I ask you something? Clara felt her stomach tighten. Sure. How long were you and Amelia together? The question surprised her. For years, Clara answered. And it ended badly. Meredith nodded, gentle but certain. I thought so. She gets this look sometimes, like she's somewhere else. I always wondered who left that mark. Clara didn't know what to say. Meredith was calm, sincere. Not defensive. She's lucky to have you, Clara said at last. You seem like a good person. Meredith smiled softly. I am. I'm steady. I show up. I make her laugh. I'm everything she says she wants. Says she wants. Clara noticed the careful wording again. But? Clara asked before she could stop herself. Meredith looked out over the vineyard as the light slipped away, thinking. I'm not the person she dreams about. The words settled heavily between them. Clara felt sympathy for Meredith, confusion about why she was being so open, and a small, dangerous spark of something she didn't want to name. I'm not telling you this to cause pain, Meredith added quickly. I love Amelia. I want her to be happy. If marrying me gives her that, then I'm thankful. She met Clara's gaze. But if it doesn't, I hope she realizes it before it costs us both too much. Meredith finished her wine and set the glass aside. I should head back to dinner. Thank you for talking with me. And for being professional. I know this situation isn't easy. When she walked away, Clara stood alone, the evening air cool around her. Her thoughts raced. Was Meredith uncertain? Was she asking for something, or simply being honest? Or was Clara reading meaning where there was none? She gathered her gear and headed back toward the cottage. Tomorrow would answer everything. Tomorrow Amelia Hart would become Amelia Morrison. And Clara told herself that would be the end of this chapter. Still, as she walked, she felt certain the story wasn't finished. Clara woke before sunrise, her body tuned to the pace of wedding days. The cottage was still, pale light slipping through the curtains. She lay quietly, listening to birds and the distant movement of staff beginning their work. Today was the day. By nightfall, Amelia would be married, and Clara would have captured it all. She made coffee and sat on the porch, watching the sun spill gold across the vines. The weather was flawless. Clear sky. Soft breeze. Perfect light. Her phone buzzed. A message from Jordan. Thinking of you today. You've got this. Clara smiled. That was exactly what she needed. By 8, she was ready. Simple black dress. Comfortable shoes. Hair pulled back. Wedding photographers learned to blend in. Today, that invisibility felt protective. The main house buzzed with activity. Flowers, tables, quiet urgency everywhere. Patricia spotted her immediately. Great timing, Clara. The bridal parties are in separate wings. Meredith in the east. Amelia in the west. You may want to start with some getting ready shots. Sure. Where would you like me first? Meredith's group is having breakfast on the terrace shortly. Amelia's side is still in hair and makeup. Probably best to wait on those. Clara nodded, relieved. She wasn't ready to see Amelia yet. The east terrace glowed in the morning sun. Meredith's bridesmaids gathered around a table of pastries, fruit, and champagne. The mood was light and warm. Meredith looked radiant in a silk robe, laughing easily. Clara captured the moments as they unfolded. Glasses clinking. Shared smiles. Familiar closeness. Meredith noticed her and waved. Come say hello. Everyone, this is Clara, our photographer. The introductions were easy. Her friends were kind, curious, complimentary. It felt normal, grounding. "Let's get a few shots of you here," Clara suggested. "The light is perfect." For the next hour, she worked steadily. Hair being styled. Jewelry passed from hand to hand. Quiet excitement building. Eventually, Clara lowered her camera. "I should check on the other side and get some preparation shots there too." "Of course," Meredith said. She was dressed now, the gown fitting her perfectly, silk and lace falling effortlessly into place. "Clara, thank you for making this feel simple." "I know it isn't." Clara only nodded. Meredith looked radiant, calm, every bit the happy bride. Somehow, that made it harder. The West Wing felt quieter. Softer. Music played low as Clara approached the bridal suite. She knocked gently. "Come in," a voice said. The room was styled in pale blues and whites. Amelia sat at the vanity while a makeup artist worked carefully, her hair already swept into an elegant updo that revealed her neck. She wore a silk robe like Meredith's, and for a moment, Clara forgot to breathe. Amelia looked just as beautiful as she had years ago. But there was something else now. A heaviness in her eyes that makeup couldn't hide. "Clara," Amelia said softly, meeting her gaze in the mirror. "I wondered when you'd come by." "Just here for preparation shots," Clara replied, lifting her camera. "Try to ignore me." It was impossible to truly disappear in such a small space. There were only 3 bridesmaids. Amelia had always preferred things intimate. They all seemed to sense the tension. Clara worked quickly. The dress hanging near the window. Shoes placed neatly on the bed. Jewelry arranged with care. She focused on framing and light, anything to keep her thoughts steady. Then it was time for the dress. Clara stepped aside as the bridesmaids helped Amelia into it. The gown was stunning. Lace, flowing fabric, delicate details that caught the light. It suited her perfectly. As the buttons were fastened, Clara noticed Amelia's hands trembling. "Nervous?" one bridesmaid asked. "A little," Amelia said. "Big day." Clara captured the moment. It should have felt joyful. Instead, she saw tight shoulders, a careful smile, eyes flicking to the mirror again and again. "I need some air," Amelia said suddenly. "Just a minute." She stepped onto the balcony. After a pause, Clara followed. Below them, the ceremony space was nearly ready. Chairs aligned. Flowers in place. Everything waiting. "It's beautiful," Amelia said, though she wasn't looking. "It is," Clara said. "You look beautiful too." Amelia turned, eyes shining. "Clara, I don't," Clara interrupted gently but firmly. "Whatever you're thinking, don't say it. Not today. But I need you to know, no." Clara held her ground. "You're getting married today to someone who loves you. Someone who deserves all of you. Don't do this." Amelia looked away. "Do you ever think about what might have happened if things were different?" "Every day," Clara admitted. "But thinking doesn't change reality." Before Amelia could reply, a bridesmaid appeared. "Amelia, they want some bouquet photos." The moment passed. Amelia wiped her eyes and went back inside. Clara stayed on the balcony, breathing deeply. 4 more hours. She could manage 4 more hours. Still, as she watched the final preparations below, she felt it. Something was shifting. The distance she tried to keep was breaking down. The afternoon blurred together. Clara photographed details that would matter long after the day ended. Rings in a small box. Vows folded carefully. Flowers arranged just right. She moved through the rooms on instinct, capturing laughter and quiet nerves. She did her job well. But it felt like she was moving through fog. By 4 o'clock, she slipped into the library, a quiet corner away from the noise. She reviewed images on her camera when a voice broke the silence. "Hiding out?" Clara looked up to see Amelia's mother, Helen Hart, standing in the doorway. Helen had changed in subtle ways over the last 5 years. Her hair was now silver, cut neatly to frame her face, and she wore a simple navy dress that hinted at quiet confidence and comfort. "Mrs. Hart," Clara said as she stood up. "I was just checking my shots, making sure everything's covered. Please, have a seat." Helen stepped inside and closed the door behind her. "It's Helen," she said gently. "It always has been." Clara stayed on her feet, unsure what this conversation might bring. When she had been with Amelia, Helen had always been polite but distant. Never unkind, but never fully welcoming either. "You look good," Helen said as she sat down. "Your success suits you." "Thank you," Clara replied, sitting on the edge of a chair. "You look wonderful as well." "I was surprised when Patricia told me she hired you," Helen said calmly. "I wasn't sure you'd agree, given everything." "It's work," Clara said. Simple and honest. Helen studied her for a moment. "You know, I always liked you. You made Amelia happy in a way I hadn't seen before. Or since." The words caught Clara off guard. "Thank you," she said quietly. "She was more herself with you," Helen continued. "Less focused on expectations. More willing to take chances. I was sad when it ended." Clara felt the weight of the moment pressing in. "Meredith is wonderful," she said carefully. "She is," Helen agreed. "She's everything Amelia says she wants. Reliable. Successful. Safe. All the right boxes. Says she wants." The phrase lingered. "But?" Clara asked before she could stop herself. Helen looked out the tall windows toward the vineyard. "I've never seen Amelia look at Meredith the way she looked at you." Clara's chest tightened. "Helen, this isn't appropriate. She's getting married in 2 hours." "I know," Helen said softly. "And maybe this is what she needs now. Something steady. Maybe what you had was too intense to last." "It didn't last," Clara said. "No," Helen replied, "but not because it wasn't real." Before Clara could respond, the door opened and Patricia appeared. "Clara, we need you for the first look photos." "And Helen, Amelia's asking for you." The moment passed. Helen stood and smoothed her dress. "It was good to see you again, Clara. Take care." After she left, Clara sat alone for a few minutes, her thoughts spinning. Amelia leaving without explanation. The pain had been real. Very real. But there was no time to dwell. The first look was set for 5 o'clock in the rose garden. Clara positioned herself quietly, lens ready. Meredith arrived first, glowing with excitement. She waited, back turned. When Amelia appeared, Clara's breath caught. She looked stunning in lace and soft light, but there was hesitation in her expression that no camera trick could hide. "You can turn around," Amelia said. Meredith did, her face lighting up. "Amelia, you're beautiful." Clara captured the moment. It should have been perfect. Meredith's joy was genuine. But Amelia's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. When Meredith hugged her, Amelia closed her eyes, as if steadying herself. "I love you," Meredith whispered. "I love you too," Amelia replied. But the words felt practiced, not felt. Clara lowered her camera, suddenly feeling like she was standing somewhere she didn't belong. The moment felt too personal, too raw. She was about to step back when Amelia spoke again, her voice steadier than before. "Meredith, there's something I need to say." Clara stopped moving. Through the lens, she saw Meredith's expression shift, concern replacing her smile. "What is it?" she asked. Amelia took a slow breath. Clara realized she was holding her own. Waiting. Amelia began, then paused. She glanced around the garden, and for a brief second her eyes landed exactly where Clara stood hidden among the roses. Their gazes met. In Amelia's face, Clara saw hesitation, fear, and a silent question. A moment stretched between them. Then Amelia looked away and smiled again. "I just wanted to thank you," she said. "For being patient with me. For understanding how overwhelming all of this can be." Relief washed over Meredith's face. "Of course. It's a big day. Are you ready?" Amelia nodded, though Clara could see the tension in her shoulders. "I'm ready." As the two women walked back toward the house, Clara stayed where she was, her heart racing. Amelia had almost said something else. Something that mattered. And the look she'd given Clara had been filled with longing, regret, and something Clara didn't dare name. She checked her watch. 1 hour until the ceremony. 1 hour until Amelia Hart became Amelia Morrison. 1 hour until this part of Clara's life was supposed to end. The late afternoon light at Silverbrook Vineyard was perfect and cruel all at once. The ceremony space looked flawless. Rows of chairs filled with guests. Oak trees wrapped in soft lights. Roses and greenery framing the place where promises would be made. Clara took her position beside the aisle, her cameras ready, her expression carefully neutral. She had photographed hundreds of weddings, but none had ever felt this unreal. The music began and the procession started. Bridesmaids walked with practiced ease, dresses flowing, smiles calm. Clara captured every step, every detail, letting habit guide her hands. Then Meredith appeared, walking beside her father. She looked radiant, happiness written clearly across her face. Clara photographed the way the light caught her hair, the pride in her father's eyes, the certainty in Meredith's steps. The music shifted and everyone stood. Amelia appeared at the far end of the aisle. Even through the lens, the sight of her landed hard. She was stunning, moving with quiet confidence, lace trailing behind her as she walked alone. Clara noticed what others wouldn't. The slight shake in Amelia's hands. The way her eyes scanned the crowd instead of settling on Meredith. And then, the brief pause when her gaze found Clara. For one suspended moment, everything else faded. In that look was everything left unsaid. Years of distance. Questions without answers. Feelings that had never fully disappeared. Then Amelia moved forward, and the moment passed. Clara refocused, shifting angles, doing her job. At the altar, the officiant welcomed everyone and spoke about love, commitment, and the choice to keep showing up even when it's hard. "Marriage," she said, "is choosing love again and again, especially when life makes it difficult." Clara lowered her camera for a second. The words felt too close. She remembered Amelia once saying the same thing to her. When the vows began, Meredith spoke first. Her words were sincere and steady, filled with hope and devotion. Clara photographed the moment, but her eyes kept drifting back to Amelia. Amelia listened, smiling at the right times, but her expression felt distant, like her thoughts were somewhere far away. When it was her turn, Amelia took a breath. "Meredith," she said softly. "When I met you, I thought I finally knew how to protect my heart." Clara's grip tightened on her camera. "You offered me safety," Amelia continued. "Love that felt safe, steady, predictable. I told myself that was enough, that it was what I needed." Meredith's smile faltered, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her face. But Amelia's voice grew stronger, carrying across the ceremony space. "I've been lying, to myself, to you. That isn't fair to either of us." A soft murmur went through the guests. Clara's heart raced. "Amelia." Meredith whispered, her voice shaky. "You deserve someone who chooses you, not because it's safe, but because they can't imagine life without you," Amelia said, tears welling. "Someone who loves you fully, without holding back, without part of their heart elsewhere." "Amelia, what are you saying?" Meredith's voice barely carried. Amelia's gaze drifted across the crowd and landed on Clara. "I can't marry you," she said finally. "Not like this. Not when a part of my heart still belongs to someone else." The words hit like a shockwave. Guests gasped. A chair scraped across the floor. Meredith stepped back, stunned. "I'm so sorry," Amelia added, voice trembling. "You are amazing, and you deserve someone who can give you everything. But I can't promise that when it's still tied to Clara." Clara felt her world tilt. Every eye in the space seemed to turn toward her. She was still holding her camera, still standing in position as if this were any other wedding. Meredith followed Amelia's gaze. For a fleeting moment, the three of them locked eyes, past, present, and a future suddenly uncertain. "I need to go," Amelia said, lifting her skirts and walking briskly down the aisle, past shocked guests, past her mother's startled expression, past everything carefully planned. Clara froze, unsure whether to follow or to stay, whether to capture the moment or put her camera down and run. Meredith remained at the altar, her dress flawless, bouquet clutched tightly, tears streaming. "I'm sorry," she said, voice breaking, "I'm so sorry." Then she walked away, bridesmaids rushing to follow, leaving the ceremony in stunned silence. Clara lowered her camera, hands trembling. Around her, guests whispered, unsure what to do. Patricia Vance appeared beside her, professional composure cracked for the first time. "Well," Patricia said softly, "that's a first." Clara looked toward the main house where both brides had disappeared. Her heart pounded, mind spinning with questions, and a quiet hope stirred. Maybe the story wasn't over. First, she needed to find Amelia. 6 months later, Clara's Seattle studio was busier than ever. Her reputation had grown after the viral story of the wedding that didn't happen, the photographer who captured courage, love, and choice. She was editing photos from a recent engagement session when Maya knocked. "Clara, someone's here to see you." Clara looked up and froze. Amelia stood in the doorway, nervous, hopeful, every bit as beautiful as 6 months ago. "Hi," Amelia said softly. "Hi," Clara replied, heart racing. "I was wondering," Amelia continued, stepping inside, "if you might be free for dinner. I want to explain, to talk, if you'll let me." Clara studied her, this woman who had left a wedding to follow her heart, who had spent months figuring out how to come back. "I have time," Clara said, closing her laptop. "All the time in the world." Amelia smiled, real and radiant, the way she hadn't since they had been young and certain of forever. "There's a small Italian place I know. A table by the window, we can watch the rain." "I love the rain," Clara said, standing and reaching for her jacket. "I know," Amelia said softly. "I remember everything." As they walked into the Seattle streets together, the rain beginning to fall, Clara thought of the photos from that day at Silverbrook Vineyard. She'd never shared them, but she'd kept them. They told the story of courage, of choosing love over safety. The rain fell gently as Amelia took Clara's hand. "Thank you for staying," she said. "For being here when I finally chose love over fear." Clara squeezed her hand, feeling warmth and familiarity. "Thank you, for choosing." Behind them, the lights of Clara's studio glowed warmly. Ahead, the street stretched with endless possibility. The rain fell softly, and for the first time in 5 years, Clara Bennett believed in forever again.